guys, and watching Go Doctor Who, where we do news and reviews, and this time I'm going to give you my Doctor Who ranking video. So here we go. Before I start though, I just want to say each Doctor I love the same. Without the first Doctor we would have never got Doctor Who. Without the second Doctor we would have never got a regeneration cycle. Without the TV movie we might have not got David Tennant. Matt Smith leaving at the right time. Without him leaving at the right time we wouldn't have got Peter Capaldi on the one series run with Vexton. So they're all amazing, brilliant characters and actors. So let's begin anyway. First up I've got is the first Doctor, and with this it's not because I don't like him. I think William Hartnell was a brilliant actor, and he did the role until 1966 and started it in 1963, the beginning of Doctor Who. And he died in April 1975, and he was a brilliant actor. He had so many brilliant foes, like the Cybermen stories, the Daleks, how the TARDIS works, and he just had so many brilliant episodes, and it's incredible of how much he gave life for the fans back then, and the show was alive in so much more ways than it is now. We've got brilliant actors, episodes, and sadly missing episodes that the BBC don't own. He is brilliant, but I just can't get into his character. I think it was down to his illness in some ways, but that's not by far his fault. I had so many friends with him along the way, and yes, they did have unrealistic villains, but that wasn't their fault. It was the budget and the era. They had brilliant characters at some points, and I love mentioning Classic Who because it just gives you so much nostalgia when you speak about the first Doctor. He's a brilliant actor, and if he looked back today he'd be proud to be the very first Doctor, and here's one of his regenerations now, and it's just amazing. He's just amazing. I have the second Doctor, and I think yet again it's down to kind of some of the era and the black and white, which I just can't get into that much, but it's not by far his fault. He's been in many roles in the Doctor. He's been in the 2 Doctors with the 6th Doctor. He's been in the 3 Doctors with the 3rd Doctor and the 5 Doctors. So he's had the most regenerations, comebacks, I would say. He had the hard role of coming after William Hartnell, who everyone know him as the Doctor, and he had to change his role and be a clown and experiment with the role, and that's what I like about this Doctor. He had to experiment and have the tough job. He sadly died in 1987. A brilliant Doctor nevertheless, and this is why the first Doctor is at 13th place and the second Doctor is at 12th. 11th place I have the 5th Doctor, and with the 5th Doctor I don't mind him. He's just a bit plain in some places, and it's just quite boring in some ways, but he's still a good Doctor, and I still like him for it, and he's still around today, thank God, because he's a brilliant person, and yeah, he goes to many conventions, so he's a brilliant man. He did have a time crash with David Tennant in 2007, a minisode, which was quite a good one for children need. He's met brilliant foes. He's had the 5-ish Doctors. He was the current Doctor for that. He's met Omega again. He met Cybermen, Daleks, Davros. He had a good run, but it just felt a bit boring in some places and dull. I think it was down to some of his companions in some ways, but he had some good companions and had some bad, and he even met Brigadier. Some villains, he had some foes with the Master, and he had the hardest job of taking on after the magnificent Tom Baker. So yeah. Next up is the 6th Doctor, and he is at 10th place. And the 5th was at, if I haven't mentioned it, 11th. But 10th place we have the 6th Doctor. Now with the 6th Doctor, I thought he had a tough job as well, because everyone was going off Doctor Who in that era and it was being axed and they all blame it on him. But I think it was the BBC being harsh on him. He wanted a costume, not like a clown. He wanted it like Christopher Eccleston, and he didn't get it, and he was constantly being harshed on by the BBC in so many ways. He has quite a good run with Trial of the Time Lord, and he has met Davros, the Daleks and Cybermen, and the Master in varying roles. And the main character, I think, what we all think of in his era is the Valeyard, which is a nice, interesting read. And I've put him at 10th place. Next up, at 9th place, I have the 7th Doctor, and I do love the 7th Doctor. He's quite a fun and engaging character, and I like him. He's quite funny, and we have the Remembrance of the Daleks, which is one of the hypes of Doctor Who in classic. Sylvester McCoy is a brilliant character. He can get a bit annoying in some places because he carries on his R's, like, I don't know, just too much of him is too much of a good thing in some ways, I think. But he did meet many great foes, and he didn't have much of a long run in his era, but he was still a brilliant Doctor nevertheless. Remembrance, brilliant episode. Silver Nemesis, I liked. And Brigadier we got back, and Ace was a brilliant companion. We just had so much good ways, but he did have a bad, I think, way in the TV movie of him regenerating, just getting killed off by gangsters. I don't think that served him that well, but a brilliant era nevertheless, and he's at 9th place. Next up, I have the 8th Doctor, and the 8th Doctor had a bit of a tough job because he's bringing it into the movie, and also he had to compete against, I think, his own brother as well to get this role. I think with the TV movie doesn't give him justice. He only had this and Night of the Doctor, which Night of the Doctor is why I put him in this place. I do love him in that. And Big Finish I need to get into because I hear he's brilliant in that as well. And yeah, I think the movie didn't give him justice. It's more of a pantomime thing, which everyone seems to hate. And we had the terrible Master there. I hated that character, he irritated me so much. The TARDIS movie, it didn't feel like Doctor Who, and that's what puts this so much down in places. We had an alright companion, we had some nostalgia stuff, but yeah. So the 8th Doctor is at 8th place. Next up we have the legendary and awesome Tom Baker playing the 4th Doctor, and he's still around with us today, thank God. And he had a hard job playing against Jon Pertwee, who's a brilliant actor. He hasn't had a multi-Doctor event unless you class the 50th in some ways, but yeah. He had the longest serving run, and he had the creator of the Daleks first episode, Genesis. He had brilliant K9 and the start of him. Sarah Jane Smith was amazing, Joe Grant was amazing. The Zygons, everything of his era is so good and it's brilliant, and there's so many brilliant adventures like Deadly Assassin and Zygons and Sontarans with Time Lords. We don't get that often now. And he had some brilliant companions, and sadly Brigadier and Sarah Jane's left us, but we'll always remember them. So yeah, his run was brilliant. Next up, the 4th Doctor was at 7th place. Next up, we have the 3rd Doctor, and sadly he has passed away with us. And he had a return in this special thing. Also, I can't remember now, it was a Children in Need, I think. But also he's returned in the 5-ish Doctors and the three Doctors, because he was in that era, and sadly died in 1996. I think he would have loved to hear that Doctor Who's back on the channel. He's a brilliant actor, and he's my favourite classic Doctor. He had a brilliant run with Omega. He had so much common banter between all of his characters. Sarah Jane was amazing. I loved the three Doctors. Brigadier and the third Doctor just worked so well, and Inferno and everything. The Master beginning, they were going to reveal the brothers and all that. It's just a brilliant era. I love everything about the third Doctor's era, and he did have a tiny bit of a bad end, but he was still a brilliant Doctor nevertheless. And the third Doctor is at 6th place. Next up we have the 11th Doctor, and yeah, he's obviously not left us yet, and he's brilliant, and I think he should return for the 60th, possibly with David Tennant if he's still around for looking the way he did in his era. But yeah, 11 was brilliant, and the Weeping Angels suited his era so well. We got so many brilliant adventures. We had Amy and Clara with brilliant companions, and yeah, his run was more for children and childish eras, but still nevertheless brilliant. His first ever episode was quite good and interesting, the Weeping Angels. So many good adventures, and he brought so much Americans into the show, and it helped, and it brought the show back in so many different ways. And I love all the characters that he's met, and so many villains and all sorts. His era is brilliant. The 11th Doctor just made things cool, like the bow ties. Who would make that cool but the 11th Doctor? Next up, at 4th place, I have the War Doctor. Now, I do count him as a Doctor. I hate when he gets left out. He's a brilliant Doctor, and he needs more. His TARDIS could have done a bit better, but I think his run is amazing for his one episode, and he's back in Big Finish, and I need to listen to this. A Day of the Doctor, just brilliant read, and he had to fight villains like this, the creatures of the Time War, random things that keep on getting brought up. And if you are a big fan of the War Doctor, I recommend this. This is a brilliant book. I got it for that price in Forbidden Planet. It's a brilliant read. You need to do it if you want to pause and read that for the synopsis. So yeah. Anyway, next up, at third place, I have the 9th Doctor, and I thought he was a brilliant run. And if I did any run to anything to bring people into Doctor Who, it would be the 9th Doctor era. It has everything. It has everything to explain. In one series, got Daleks, Time Lord, knowledge, and companion, start of a companion, brilliant and scary episodes, future, past, present, brilliant characters to run into, monsters. His run was brilliant, and in his own words, fantastic. And Sonic's TARDIS languages and his regeneration was brilliant and a shock. Loved every minute of the 9th Doctor. Absolutely fantastic at 3rd place. At 2nd place, I have the 10th Doctor, my Doctor, who brought me into the show. And he came back in Day of the Doctor, which was so much of a nostalgia. I loved the 10th Doctor. Look how much he's done, and he's just amazing. He did get overpowered with Rose when she left. He kept on going on about her, but still, we got Sarah Jane, K9. He has so many good run and adventures. The Cybermen returning, the Daleks. He had so much epic stuff about him with Martha and the best duo, Donna and the 10th Doctor. And it was so sad to see him go. And he was just a brilliant run throughout. I love the 10th Doctor, and if you asked me before my first place if anyone would beat him, I would say no one would beat him. At first place we have the 12th Doctor, and now I think the 12th Doctor is amazing, and I love the 12th Doctor, and I couldn't picture anyone else better. He's such a grumpy yet funny character, and I love his era with so much adventure, and I'm going to do a video on him altogether, so I'm going to leave that there. But thank you guys for watching. You've been watching Go Doctor Who. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a like. This is my Doctor Who ranking. There's my list if you haven't seen it. And yeah, subscribe. See you guys next time.